My name's Evan from Lonely Stoner Podcast, and today I'm going to be going over the events of UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier. The first fight that I watched was Ateba Gautier versus Robert Valentin, the opening fight for the prelims. This was essentially just an out-and-out smoking from Ateba Gautier. Valentin looked like he was ready to lose the fight from the get-go. I mean, he was instantly backing up. He was trying to lure Ateba in to maybe catch him coming in, because we knew that he was going to be aggressive and he was going to look for very early finish. But Valentin's game plan didn't work out very well, because Ateba came in like we knew he would and landed big power shots and hurt Valentin and finished him pretty quickly. It was a fairly elementary victory for Ateba Gautier. When I was watching him, I thought, damn, this guy looks like a middleweight Francis Ngannou. He's huge for middleweight. He's very, very muscular, defined African guy at middleweight with serious heat in his hands, throwing serious heat from the get-go, not looking to fuck about like a lot of Ngannou's fights, like the Rosenstruck fight, for example. He just knows all I have to do is land on that chin, regardless of how I land, it's over. So it seems like that was kind of his game plan as well. Just go. Obviously, he's a middleweight, not a heavyweight, but it seems like that's going to be his game plan for his fights. Not that Robert Valentin is some high level opponent. I think it's only his second UFC fight for Ateba Gautier, but yeah, he got it done fairly quickly. It was not a layup fight for him, but he was lined up to win this one, and they're building him up. He's on a 7-fight winning streak. I think all first round finishes, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, fairly simple victory for Ateba Gautier. Looks good. I have to see what's next for him. Maybe give him somebody who's been in the UFC for a while but hasn't really been ranked in their career, and someone who has had a fair amount of fights and would be a test, but nothing too crazy. No ranked opponents yet. Moving on to Nikolai Veretnikov defeating Francisco Prado by split decision. This was a really close fight. It seemed like Francisco Prado was kind of just getting bullied in there. I mean, he was having success in grappling, and he kept getting, I think in every single round, he got into this position where he was in half guard, top, and he'd have his arm, Nikolai Veretnikov would have his arm over Prado's face, and then Prado looked like he'd be going for an arm triangle, but he never passed the guard or got onto the correct side to try and do that, which I thought he had a good couple arm triangle opportunities there, but it didn't really seem like he was looking for it. And in the striking, it was really hard for him, because Veretnikov was about 4 or 5 inches taller, reach advantage, using kicks really well. When Prado would circle out, Veretnikov would use his kicks on that side and stop Prado from circling out. And also, Prado did look kind of good in the boxing as well. He looked alright in the boxing. He was slipping some nice shots, but it was quite a scrappy fight. They were landing a lot on each other. Close one. It could very, very well could have gone either way. I had it 1-1 going into the third, and I think right at the end, I think Veretnikov landed some kicks and kind of took it for me. He was like a decent-ish underdog, because he's not got a nice record. The other guy is 23 years old. They probably were looking for him to win, but it seems like he seems a bit small for welterweight, because Veretnikov doesn't seem like a huge welterweight, but he seemed a lot bigger than Francisco Prado. So I'm not sure if Prado's fought at lightweight before. I don't really know anything about him, to be honest, before I watched this fight. Argentinian guy, looked quite scrappy, very young. He has some skills there. Maybe he could improve, and if he's able to move down to lightweight and fight some guys that are more of his own size, then that could be better for him. But Nikolai Veretnikov won by split decision. Fair result. I'm not complaining about that. Those scorecards. And then after this fight, this is the beginning of every single fight being a decision. So after this, the early prelims and the Ateba fight was really what sort of carried in terms of finishes and finishing excitement. But after this, all the fights were decisions. Now moving on to Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori, fight of the night. These guys were just throwing hands. I mean, the first round was definitely a Brendan Allen round. He was mixing up his kicks really nicely, busted up Vettori's nose, controlled him on the ground for a bit. was looking for a rear naked choke. Easy first round for Brendan Allen. Second round, I had for Vettori. I think Vettori was landing more because Brendan Allen, he went a little bit away from his game plan of the kicks and the grappling. He just decided to kind of start boxing with Vettori, and that's kind of all Vettori does. Vettori throws some kicks here and there. He grapples when he needs to, but he's not a grappler. And Brendan Allen kind of in the second round stopped being so dynamic with his body kicks and head kicks and like elbows and stuff like that. And it allowed Marvin Vettori to get back into the fight in the second round. And that's why I thought, even though it was a scrappy round, I did think Vettori won the second round. Close, because like the damage that was showing up on Vettori's face was the damage that was already done by Brendan Allen in the first round. So close second round, but I had it for Vettori. First round was clear Brendan Allen. He just did more damage, visible damage, got him on the ground, dynamic with his kicks. Clear first round. Third round was very close. I had it like going into the last 40 odd seconds. In my head, I thought to myself, okay, whoever does the more in these last 30 or 40 seconds, I'm going to give this round. And Brendan Allen put the pressure on, landed some kicks, got Vettori up against the cage, and in my opinion, he took the round. And for me, I had it 29-28. Brendan Allen, I think two judges had it 30-27, which is, it's not crazy scorecard. You know, if you want to have it 30-27, that's not crazy, in my opinion. I did think Vettori won the second round, but it wasn't clear. And then the third round, again, was also another close round. So really, if you wanted to say Vettori won the fight, I wouldn't even call you crazy for that. But in my opinion, Brendan Allen did win 29-28. First and third round, I had Brendan Allen winning. Not good performance from Brendan Allen, because making a fight with Vettori that close in a 3-round fight, it doesn't really bode well. We know Brendan Allen kind of has bad decision making in his fights. And his last one against Anthony Hernandez, he just kept jumping submissions and guillotines going to the ground, where he'd just get dominated on the ground by Anthony Hernandez in that fight. But Brendan Allen, who should be looking at next? I mean, somebody in that 9-11 range somewhere. Maybe he can even fight a Costa, but they love to give Costa big matchups, to be fair. So now Costa's one. I'll get onto that matchup later, but yeah, Brendan Allen should be looking for somebody in that 9-11 range. Depends who's available. I'd have to look, but maybe I'll make a video about sort of the matchups that can be made off of this card. I'm not trying to cap MMA Guru's whole style, but I'd just like to be more prepared for that kind of video. But yeah, Brendan Allen, unanimous decision. Fair enough. I did think he won, and I predicted him to win. Now moving on to Vinicius Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips. Vinicius Oliveira winning by unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Yeah, that's exactly spot on, the scorecards, to be fair, because the first round, Vinicius Oliveira was weirdly like stumbling about the whole place. He felt like he had no balance, and his footwork is awful, by the way. He's walking towards Kyler Phillips the entire fight, one foot in front of the other. He's one of the weirdest fighters I've ever seen fight, to be honest. At bantamweight as well, where it's one of the more, if not the most skilled weight class in MMA in the UFC. So for him to be able to just walk down a ranked opponent in Kyler Phillips and just spam right hooks and head kicks and win the fight is kind of crazy to me, because he was walking towards him, one foot in front of the other, right hand loaded up behind his back, and just absolutely winging it at every possible moment. And Kyler Phillips was trying to be dynamic. He was trying to use his footwork, but he just allowed himself to get backed up too much, and Vinicius Oliveira started landing bombs in the third round was a little bit closer. Second round, he started landing bombs and hurt Kyler Phillips a couple of times, but he's just like, I don't know how to explain this Vinicius Oliveira guy, because he looks awful. He kind of does look shit, but he's able to land. He's got heat in his hands. He's got some dynamic attacks in him. But if he fights somebody pretty good, like, I don't think he's gonna make it very far fighting like this in the bantamweight division. So yeah, clear 29-28 victory. They shouldn't be looking to push him up too much. They should be looking to give him somebody. I think he was ranked like number 14 or something, and Phillips was like 13 or 12. So they should be giving him somewhere in that 9-11, 9-12 range. If he'd have got a very nice finish, an exciting finish, then yeah, they would have probably tried to bump him up. But it wasn't the craziest fight. I mean, he hurt Phillips multiple times. He won the fight 29-28, clear. Yeah, give him someone slightly higher up. And now moving on to the opener of the main card, Michael the Menace Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. I'm not the type of person to get frustrated at a fighter because I picked them and they're shit. But I have to say, this definitely applies to Daniel Zellhuber because, all respect to Michael Johnson, he did put on a good performance. And I was just thinking about this. In boxing, the fighters are much more consistent in their performances. You see some better and some worse, but you won't see like a guy like Daniel Zellhuber versus Michael Johnson, for example, where Daniel Zellhuber clearly has more dynamic attacks, the length, the height advantage, the reach advantage, like a 13-year age advantage. He has everything going for him in this fight, but yet Michael Johnson is able to, very fast hands, by the way, from Michael Johnson, but he's able to land his jab to the body early on, land his straights to the body, move in with his combinations to the head, move back out of range of the kicks. And that's all really Daniel Zellhuber was doing. All he was doing was throwing these weak, pussy-ass combinations and then spamming head kicks. He must have threw at least 20 or 25 head kicks throughout this fight. And none of them put Michael Johnson in any real trouble. And also the body kicks as well. He did land some nice body kicks. But again, none of them seemed to put Michael Johnson in any real trouble. So, yeah, no, Michael Johnson clear. It was a clear victory, in my opinion, for Michael Johnson. He put Zellhuber down. He was landing more. He was landing the more significant strikes. So yeah, man, Michael Johnson probably going to be looking at a ranked opponent next at lightweight, which is kind of crazy to say in 2025 that a 39-year-old, like 25-19 record, Michael Johnson is looking at a ranked opponent in the lightweight division of the UFC. But I think this is just kind of the state of the sport in terms of these low IQ guys like Daniel Zellhuber, who just should be doing better in this fight. He just should be doing much better. But like when you're spamming these wheel kicks and you're spamming the same attacks over and over again, Michael Johnson's a veteran. You're not just going to catch him with something. You need to set up your attacks. Low kicks, body kicks, and also even some like jab straight head kicks. Some two head kicks would have been nice from Zellhuber, but he wasn't being very dynamic. Even though you would have thought that he would have had that going into the fight. But his head kicks, I mean, it was the main weapon he was using, but it wasn't really landing too much. So, yeah, like really disappointed with Daniel Zellhuber there. I thought we might have had one for the future in lightweight, but he seems to be like another one of these guys who physically probably has all the gifts to be good, but just isn't for whatever reason. So, fuck him. Now moving on to Patricio Pitbull versus Dan Ige. I will say I didn't really see much of this fight, but it seemed like a really low output kind of shit fight. I saw MMA Guru's tweet at the time. He said it was like a Bellator R fight, which is kind of like, I know it had Pitbull in it, but it's kind of true. Like it was just a nothing burger of a fight. Like neither of them really did much of consequence, and Patricio Pitbull won by decision. I won't dwell on this one for too long. I thought Dan Ige would have been much more scrappy and coming for a war, and would have put on way more pressure on Pitbull. But he kind of allowed Pitbull to kind of just do his thing. So Pitbull's now 1-1 in the UFC. He's very old, so they'll probably look to give him a big opponent. Maybe he can step in to fight Aaron Pico, because Evloeb's pulled out of that. So maybe he can step in to fight Aaron Pico. That'd be fun. Moving on to Daniel Rodriguez defeating Kevin Holland by unanimous decision. This was a close one because I'm getting my rounds mixed around here, but one of the rounds, Daniel Rodriguez hurt him a couple times. I think that was the second round. Yeah, I think that was the second round. Where Daniel Rodriguez dropped him badly a couple of times and nearly finished him. And then the first round was really, really close, I think. The first round was really close. They were even on strikes. That round really could have gone either way. I mean, aesthetically, it kind of did look like Kevin Holland was doing more, but really close round that could have gone either way. The second was to Daniel Rodriguez, and the third was, I think, to Kevin Holland. So for this to be a unanimous decision for Daniel Rodriguez is slightly surprising. I thought at least one of the judges probably would have given it to Kevin Holland, but no. Daniel Rodriguez wins. My prediction is wrong in this one. Another setback for Kevin Holland, and this, in my opinion, should have been a fight that I think this was kind of a layup for Kevin Holland. Get him on a 3-fight win streak, move him up to probably 11-10 at welterweight, and then get him like a big name opponent, because Kevin Holland is a big name in the MMA community. Everyone knows him. He fights super often. But he's lost. Daniel Rodriguez will probably look at somebody in the 10 to 15 range, because he just beat number 13 or 14, Kevin Holland. So should be looking for somewhere around there. Yeah, it wasn't the craziest performance, but Unks are getting it done. So fair enough. Moving on to Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. Roman Kopylov really, really let me down in this one, because if you saw the most recent podcast, episode 34, I predicted Kopylov to win this by a finish, actually. I thought he'd be landing way more body kicks. I thought that would gas out Costa. I thought Costa would be overexerting himself with his punches, overextending, and I thought that Kopylov would be landing some really nice kicks, but Paulo Costa came out early in the first round and kind of set his pace on Kopylov. Krylov is the light heavyweight, but he kind of put his pace on Kopylov. Leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks, straights to the body, hooks to the head, hooks to the body. He was being really, really dynamic with his attacks and mixing it up really well, Paulo Costa was. And Kopylov never really got going. He never got his momentum. He wasn't putting strikes together. He was backing up. He wasn't being that aggressive, which I thought he would. And Costa kind of just walked through it the entire fight. It was an easy 30-27 for Paulo Costa. And one of the judges gave a round to Kopylov, which I don't really get, because he didn't really do anything. He kind of just got... He landed a couple nice straight left hands and one or two kicks from his rear side, the open side. But, yeah, easy Paulo Costa victory. Looked very good. I will say he looked good. Now, whether you want to say it was more Paulo Costa looking good or Kopylov looking bad is up to you to say, but in my opinion, it was a little bit of both. Kopylov could have done way more to win this fight, but also Paulo Costa was... Man, he had 3-round cardio. And in most of his fights, he looks super gassed when it comes to the third round. So, for him to look like he has 3-round cardio, keep up a pretty good pace for 3 rounds, and out-volume and out-damage Roman Kopylov. Dropped him once as well, really nicely with I think it was a straight punch. But, yeah, really, really impressive stuff from Paulo Costa. He'll be looking at probably somebody in the top 10, because they always love to give him these super high-ranked opponents for no reason. So they'll be looking to give him somebody quite high-ranked. I felt like they needed to give him a Kopylov to, okay, you fought Strickland, you fought Whittaker, we've given you the opportunities to do something big. Now you have to go and fight somebody who's ranked number 14. So, yeah, now he's got a win. His second win in the last 6 years now. His only win in the last 6 years that the guy's still in the UFC. So fair enough to Paulo Costa. He's going to get a big ranked matchup. Big, probably top 7 or top 8 ranked matchup next. So fair enough, Paulo Costa. He did well. He looked good. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for him. Main event time. That's what you're here to see. Main event time. Max Holloway defeating Dustin Poirier by unanimous decision. A couple things I want to get off my chest about this. Cool. The scorecards. I had it 5-0 Max Holloway. The only round that you can argue for Dustin Poirier is the second round, in which earlier in that round, Max Holloway dropped Dustin, was looking to finish, but kind of let him off the hook a little bit. Dustin recovered and they went back to it. And then very, very late in that round, Holloway got dropped. A little bit of a flash knockdown, and then Poirier got on top and landed 1 or 2 ground and pound shots, but missed most of them. Or most of them were on the guard. That's the only round that you can even argue. I personally wouldn't give it to Dustin Poirier, but that's the only round you can argue that is his. Yet, 2 judges gave this 48-47. 2 judges gave this 49-46, and 1 judge gave it 48-47. So for none of the judges to give it 50-45, and for 2 of the judges to pull a round out of their ass to give to Dustin Poirier, these were pre-written scorecards. These were 100% pre-written scorecards. There is no second... Like, the second round in the fight, you can argue that Poirier won. But in terms of another round that you could have given him, it simply doesn't exist. It simply doesn't exist. Max Holloway clearly won rounds 1, 3, 4, and 5. Round 2 is the only one where you can make an argument. So if you want to say 49-46, fair enough. There is no argument for 48-47. Crazy to me. Pre-written scorecards trying to not make Dustin look as bad in his retirement fight, because if in 5 years' time, if we look at Dustin Poirier's retirement fight and think, he got 50-45 by Max, he got 49-46 by Max in his retirement fight, that's a bit sad. In 5 years' time, when you don't remember the fight as well, you look back, you go, 48-47, a couple 49-46, like a couple 49-46s. And I'm going mad. Let me correct myself. One judge gave it 48-47, Dustin Poirier 2 rounds, given 2 rounds, and then the other 2 judges had it 49-46. So 2 judges did have Max dominantly winning, but I think it's just them ones where like they're trying to make it look like, when they look back on it, that Dustin's not going to look as bad in his retirement fight. You shouldn't score fights like that, but it's whatever. It looks like they were pre-written scorecards, in my opinion. Now, another thing I wanted to get off my chest, the commentary team. I fully understand that it's Dustin Poirier's retirement fight and you want to give him all the flowers possible and you want to make him look good. I understand that. However, Max Holloway would land like a 4 or 5 piece combination, like jab, body, head, body kick. It'd land like a very nice combination, multiple strikes, and then the commentary team would be like, "Oh yeah, Holloway putting him on notice there," and then Poirier would barely land a hook that was clipped the guard, and then the commentary team would absolutely bust their fucking pants over it. Really, really struggled to get through it with the commentary on most of the fights I did watch without the commentary. That main event was the only one I did watch with the commentary. But it's absolutely glazing the shit out of Dustin Poirier. It was pissing me off. And John Anik was the worst one as well. Just, whoa! Like, for no reason. And Daniel Cormier was actually the only one who was kind of being level-headed. He was saying in the last round, Poirier has to get a finish to win. Max Holloway's like way ahead, and Daniel Cormier was the only one. And you'd think that he would be the most biased one because he loves Dustin Poirier and they're from the same hometown. So you'd think that if anybody on the commentary team was going to be super biased for Dustin Poirier, it'd be Daniel Cormier, but no, he wasn't. And it was mostly John Anik, to be honest. I don't know if he was instructed to do that for Poirier or what, but it was appalling commentary. I didn't like it at all. But now moving on to the actual fight itself. Great performance from Max Holloway. As me and my co-host Seth predicted, we didn't think that Max Holloway would really be losing much of a step. A lot of guys, it's easy to say, he's been knocked out brutally, now he's not the same. And it does happen to some guys, right? But it hasn't happened to Max. What I will say is he did look like a bit more hittable than he usually would be. But I think that's kind of more credit to how really good Dustin Poirier is and how more aggressive Max is as a fighter at lightweight. From the first round, he was coming out quite aggressive. He was landing nice boxing combinations. And what I will say as well, things like that lead kick, that lead stomp to Dustin's leg and the rear body kick on the open side, that's something that a lot of fighters would open up with and have success with and then completely forget about as the fight goes on. Max Holloway did not forget about those weapons, which just screams the amount of like presence he has in the cage, like a self-awareness he has in the cage to not stray away from his game plan. I mean, everyone knows this about Max, to be fair. Like, he's one of the better game plans. He's one of the best 5-round fighters in the UFC. But he was consistent with the attacks that he was using. His quick boxing combinations, open side body kick, lead stomp to the leg, some head kicks in there as well. And yeah, it was a really good performance from Max Holloway, really good. Obviously, he got hurt a couple of times. He got stung. It's Poirier you're fighting at the end of the day. He sits down on his punches and bites down on his mouthpiece. But what I do think Dustin Poirier could have done to help his case in this fight is not back up so much. And I don't know if this speaks to Max Holloway's increased power at lightweight, but every time like Max Holloway would come forward or land a shot, Dustin would just back all the way up. And I'm not really used to seeing that from him. I'm used to seeing him more stand his ground and bite down on his mouthpiece like he did a few times in this fight, and wing shots, which he wasn't doing so much. And what kind of proves this, in my opinion, is those last 10 seconds in the 5th round, where you know what Holloway's going to do. You know, they clap, 10 seconds left, Holloway points down to the ground, says, let's do this. And they exchanged for like probably 4 or 5 seconds, and Holloway outsped him, outlanded him in that. And then Dustin backed up. Holloway like ran towards him as Poirier backed up, and then Poirier just clinched him for the last 2 seconds. So like really kind of went out sad with that one, if you're asking me. Like if it was my last fight and I knew I'm done after this, I would have just fuck it. Like Gaethje did, right? Fuck it, I'm losing this fight anyway. Let me not even take a single back step and let me just wing it. Because you never know, he might have knocked out Holloway. Poirier has power to do that. He could have knocked out Max Holloway there. But he decided to back up, didn't want to taste Holloway's power, clinched him up with a couple of seconds to go, even though he was down 4 rounds. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, credit to Dustin Poirier. He's been not at the top since I started watching MMA. I started watching MMA in around 2015. The first fight card I remember watching was Daniel Cormier versus Alexander Gustafsson. That was the first card I fully remember watching. So Poirier wasn't really at the top of the sport, but I've seen him. He was in the UFC already by that time, and I've sort of seen his rise to becoming one of the more consistent top-ranked contenders in MMA. So in terms of his career, he's had a legendary career, Hall of Fame worthy career for sure, for most of the top guys at lightweight in his time. So if not all of them, I think actually, probably for all of them. So former interim champion, Dustin Poirier, great career for him. And in terms of what's next for Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, right? They fought before. It ended weirdly with Charles Oliveira getting injured, I think. And obviously Charles Oliveira is such a different fighter now. And I think both of them are such big names as well, that fight will sell. That can be a co-main event of a pay-per-view for sure. That can be a co-main event of a pay-per-view, or even they can make a super shit pay-per-view and then have the main event for the BMF. So yeah, but it is super weird hearing like them say "and still" for Max Holloway. I'm thinking, he lost his last fight by brutal knockout, but okay, fair enough. And also them having the little golden C next to his name on the I don't know what you call it, the little bar they have where it has the rounds and the timer. Really, like, kind of devalues other championships, if you ask me. Not really, but in my head anyway, in my head canon, that's what it kind of feels like. It devalues it. But no, really good performance from Max Holloway. Definitely looking for another top 5 matchup. Yeah, and if he wins that top 5 matchup, if he beats the Charles, then he's probably looking at a rematch with Ilya, if Ilya is still champion at lightweight at that time. So yeah, and I don't think that rematch is totally like, oh no, Max Holloway got knocked out badly, why should he rematch Ilya? I mean, it's at a different weight class. Max Holloway's quite a different fighter at lightweight. And in my opinion, when he fought Poirier the first time, or even after he fought Gaethje, probably, even though like you can't really turn down a title shot against a guy like Ilya at your weight class, but he probably should have just been at lightweight, because he looks better at lightweight. He looks like he can take a shot better at lightweight. He has more power. He definitely has more power at lightweight. You can clearly see that. But this card was decent. It was decent. It had some really fun fights, and all of the old heads, got it done. It feels like, Michael Johnson got it done, Pitbull got it done, Daniel Rodriguez got it done, Paulo Costa got it done. Yeah. No, good. And even on the early prelims, I saw all finishes. Ryan Spann won. But when you're fighting a guy who's 9-6 in the pro record, I mean, come on, man. You gotta be winning that. But yeah, that's it from me. I've been Evan from Lonely Thunder Podcast. Peace.